that's where I need to be. Press and hold mode. What do we want here? And so what I'm trying to say is I want the gig mode. Okay? There's custom mode where you can program it yourself the way you want to do it. So there's all kinds of ways you can do this. You can set up to be a true total bypass as well. But for me, I like the gig mode the best because then I can get to any one of these things really quick. And by the way, in preset mode, if I wanted to go up to another bank, it should be able to move me up a bank. There, bank B. See what I got back? So you can navigate around on it. It's pretty cool. And there's editor software, just like Fractal always has, which you'll see in some of our footage here, that you can edit all this stuff on your computer and save presets to your computer and transfer them back and forth to this thing. So one thing I want to talk with Nick about is the fact that he gets lots of gigs. He'll sit in for like a Stoney LaRue gig or something like that, you know, or you do something with a guy here, a Black Crowes experience, which is great. I love that. So you could have, you know, you could see probably using this, maybe it's like multiple different kinds of virtual pedal boards, right? You wouldn't have to reconfigure your pedal board for every kind of gig or have 5 different pedal boards for 5 different things. Talk about how you might think about approaching that, you know?
Yeah, you know, just this little bit of experience I've had with this has totally changed how I might use something like this. And having not really, you know, submerged myself into this world until now, I've been a true and blue pedal board guy.
Nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's cool.
And it's really great. It serves me very well. You know, but then I have these things where like I'm playing fly dates with bands that you need maybe some unique sounds, or there's a sound on a record, or you need to capture something that's unique that's not in your main rig.
You may not own a good flanger, for example.
Yeah, and if you don't want to pick up a new flanger just for one show or one weekend run or a week's run, maybe, and then just have it sit on a shelf all the time. So to have access to this, and then also to not take away from your regular rig is already set, and you don't have to redefine your regular rig for every show that you do. You know, I've got shows with 4 different artists this week, all very different. Yeah. And I got to rethink my rig every time. I'm like, ooh, man, maybe do I need to bring in that analog delay for this one, or do I could really use my octave pedal on this one. But then I don't have to mess with my core sounds. I can have an additional sounds for like that I might program just for one run of shows, which is amazing. It's really it would simplify things quite a lot and in a small footprint.
No, it's literally buying an effects warehouse. You know, just like we all, like you and I do mixing and stuff. We love plugins because you can get all these different sonic textures at any time. But like you can't put that normally in a pedal board, but Fractal did. Yeah. It's really cool, you know. And you know, if you think you need more than one, if 4 aren't enough for you, you can buy 2 of them, and you could literally just loop chain them together. You know, that's another way of thinking about it. If you're one of those guys that likes a Texas-sized pedal board, like I am, I mean, I use my FM9 as a pedal board a lot, you know, but this thing's terrific, and I'm probably going to use this myself as the wet part of my Bogner, my real Bogner over here, for the delays and reverbs and flangers and choruses and pitches and that stuff, which then lets me have, you know, whatever, a lot more in my front of my FM9 thing. I don't have to spend processing time on those. I can actually add more of the kind of the dry before the amp things without running out of CPU room.
Absolutely.
So it gives me something else to do, and it's just kind of a set it and forget about it thing, you know, or just hit the one button. So I'll use it more in stomp box mode probably anyway, you know, just like turn the delay on and off.
Absolutely.
But it's really great for that.
And those who are precious about their pedals, a lot of reverb and delay pedals and a lot of varieties of pedals are already digital. Like people get a little sensitive about that. Yeah. It's already there. The sounds are there. I mean, they have, the sounds are right. And the drives, which people can be a little particular on, these drives sound really, really great. Like I'm not missing anything out of it.
I appreciate that. When our mutual buddy Dave Shear was on my first AustinBuddy TonePack show and came over and we were doing clean sounds, I said, well, try out this NK275. I said, it's a fuzz pedal, but I had a real one and I kind of A-B'd him till I had it like that. And the first thing he put it on, and I remember Ashlyn was over here looking at it, and he goes, oh, that's really accurate. And it's in the video. So Dave, you can't deny it. But it was like he could tell. It's like, that's what I expected it to be, even though it's a super boutique-y pedal. And guys, it has a Klon clone in it. And I sold my Klon. Now, how many people sell their Klons? I don't need it. I can make this do what my Klon did. I A-beat them. I set it. So that alone for me. But I've discovered the joys of the Timmy myself. I like what it does,
Yeah.
I'm usually a natural amp distortion guy, and I just like boosts more than anything else because I like to get the sound out of the amp. But there are some really great overdrive pedals. The Zen Drive is in here. That's kind of gives you that Robin Ford or even Larry Carlton Dumbley kind of thing. When you look at the list, and we'll put them up on screen and scroll it for you of all the drives, boy, that's just, that alone. I keep thinking about people who spend $200-300 on a boutique pedal that's great, and it does a lot of cool stuff. There's some really cool delays. But man, for, the price of 2 or 3 of those, you get all of that.
Yeah. And all at the same time, like I have to decide, like I limited my pedal board to be a fly rig size, and I'm like, if I can't get it done in 8 pedals, what am I doing, was my initial thought. But then when I have a gig where I need something, now I'm pulling my pedal board apart to put it together, and I still will always love pedals, and I will still continuously use them, but it's not always the most practical way to get the job done.
Yeah. No, that's it's a huge point, because you can rewire your pedal board this way virtually anytime you want. There's another thing you can do here is you don't have to have them in series. You can put pedals in parallel, and like some people in a post-effects wet loop will do that. They'll have a delay. The signal comes in and then it goes to delay and a chorus and a reverb. Now you have to do your kill dry, because otherwise you're going to add dry up a bunch of times and do them 100% wet. But you can configure this any way you want. I did a really cool preset that may or may not make it to the factory ones, that's 4 fuzzes on at once in parallel. You can't do that in the real world, folks, but this can do it.
That's wild.
It was super cool, and it was cool turning them on and off and during the different textures, right? 2 or 3 here, whatever. So it lets you do some things that you can't really do. And the other thing is, you don't have to worry about a cable futzing. You don't have to worry about power going out on one of them, or the load from that old vintage pedal that kind of brings the rest of the tone down or suppresses it. That's not in here, It doesn't do that kind of thing. So I'm just super excited about it for the real amp people like you are, and I am too, even though everybody knows it's a Fractal guy. I mean, I like my 2-Rock. I like my Bogner. This thing is just I've always used the Fractal FM9, it's just an effects pedal in front of it, which does a lot of what this was, I'm so familiar with it. But now having this where I can put it in the effects loop for all the wet stuff, that makes me kind of excited. So, and I did do a bunch of the factory presets, and hopefully you guys will like them. I tried to do some stack drive presets just to show you that this can do what your real pedal board does, And that's what Nick and I worked on together. I really wanted to feel like, yeah, this does what my real pedal board can do. So let's say we got this drive here, right? We know we're going to go into drive effects mode. And we got this drive here, and we know we can turn it on and off. But let's look inside of it now. So I click enter, and this is just like that particular drive. Now, let's say your other drives have 4 knobs or 5 knobs. They'll show up here. So it's literally modeling the drives of that pedal it was based on to emulate it. And then you just turn this knob, all right, to raise your gain, lower your gain, bass, treble for your Timmy. There's a mode switch on Timmy because it has an up switch, a down switch, and a mid. That's on here that you can control. See, up, down. And then you go down 1, and then I can control the overall volume of it, okay? So that is really key. But if that's not enough for some people, like me, super tweaker, there is an expert mode you can enter. All right. So not only does it give you the ones we just looked at, but it gives you some other additional things you can pick up on, like low cut and high cut in a pedal. This is just the particular for drive pedals. I can also tweak the bass mid and high mid frequencies on that particular pedal. I can change the diodes in that pedal. How crazy is that? We could change the Timmy to different diodes. How many diodes, the type, the quantity. If it's a fuzz pedal, you can change like the bias on it. You can control how much bass in or is or isn't it. And a weird thing you can't do in the real world is you can control the dry level. So you literally could have a pedal that's distortion and you've got a kind of distorted amp, and you just have like 50% of the pedal blended with 50% of your regular amp distortion pedal. So the creative possibilities are really exciting in this, so I love the fact that you can do that with effects like this. So let's try like maybe a delay here, all right? And I'm gonna go into this delay, and I'm gonna click enter, and we've got it tied to a tap tempo. So just sort of hit a click so they can hear the right now because it's low, right? So we just have like 1 or 2. So let's go up here. I'm going to turn the mix up from where we were. All right. I'm going to turn it way up. And I'm going to turn the feedback up. Try it again. Way up. Now, will that feedback forever? But look, it's just like the knobs, that you'd see on a regular, most kinds of delays. And then down here, you've got motor speed because it's a mono tape type. Mm-hmm. Now, if I page this, and you can control the chorus type effect in it, etc. There are other head level to ratios. You can control how much you blend. So there's all kinds of things you can do. And here are all the different delay types that you can see. There's 28 you can pick from. And you just scroll through them and pick the one you want. So right now, just for the fun of it, let's go pick an electronic, a deluxe Memory Man. Different than what we had. And then I'm going to pull the mix back a little bit, but go ahead, play a little bit. So big chords and stuff would be nice. That's a quarter note delay, and it's tied to tempo, but what if we wanted a dotted eighth note, which is pretty, something a lot of people like. You just turn it in here, and now it's going to be, there's my dotted eighth. So it's a different kind of tempo to it and a different feel, and then you can tap it to make it slower or faster, but you have those options. It's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. So.
And it's surprisingly easy to use. As one who's not been in this world as much, but I do studio stuff, and I'm like, oh, this seems to make sense. Like a lot of the controls are pretty intuitive and how to use it, and you get to sort of discover how might I use it. And once you realize, like, you know what, I'd love to be able to do this, whatever that is, you're most likely going to be able to do that.
Yeah. No, I wanted you to do this precisely because you don't know anything about the fractal stuff.
Yeah,
this is like a total world to you, a new world. Yeah. And everything we were just doing on that front, you can do through the software. And in fact, it's a lot easier on the software. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to show that you don't have to be a computer guy with a computer to do that if you don't want to do that.
Yeah. And I love that you hit a button and now you just have the knobs of that pedal. So if you go like, oh man, I just got to pull my drive down just a little bit or boost the volume this a little bit, it's pretty fast. It's not that complicated.
No, it's terrific like that. But yeah, that's why a lot of guys use the fractal stuff in their rigs. Even if they're using real amps, some of the big name guys doing it, and they're just reliable. But it's incredibly flexible and programmable based on how you like to work. Like I did an episode with a guy named Lance Keltner, who does a lot of gear rigs. Lance, and Lance is a guy who loves scenes. His other guitar player is a great guy, Cole Anson, is a guy that likes stomp boxes. You can't make one do the other way. It's just the way they are. So Lance will set this up. He go, intro would be a scene one, and then verse, and then my lead or chorus, and then lead. And he may have 4 scenes, and that's what it'll say. And then it'll go next song, like a pro would on a lot of stages, right? Whereas, it all depends on, how you want to work. The beautiful thing about this is that how you want to work is possible with this. You know, how you want to use it, it's really up to you.
Well, and it's scalable too. So if you are a stomp box kind of person like I am, my thought was like, oh, I'll probably just use it as a stomp box. But just with a little bit of time, I'm like, you know what? Doing some different scenes might make some sense. And if you have one main band you play with, you make the scenes for those songs or however you want to do that. And then you can also play other gigs and then keep it simple for those. And or vice versa. Like it seems so flexible, and the realization of about how flexible it is, it doesn't take long to go, oh, this is a way, oh, I could do that. Oh man, I didn't think I'd ever be able to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know exactly. And even if you love pedals, let's say you have a favorite fuzz and you just love it, you can run pedals in front of this and it will work perfectly. You know, just run it in. So if you've got that, you don't have to worry about the stomp on, stomp off here. You still can have a couple of pedals in front of it or whatever the case is. You've got two pedal jacks, meaning foot pedal jacks on the back. So you could have a wah-wah and a volume, or a wah and a wet, or a wah and a whammy and a whatever, and they can change by preset what they're assigned to.
Now that's really cool. We talked about setting this up for the rotary ramping for the rotary for the Leslie kind of sound. But even as we're doing that, I'm like, oh man, it'd be really cool to have like a wet dry mix, or to like be able to pull your reverb in and out, or even just like a straight up volume pedal for something. And it's and I think because of the limitation of the 4 pedals, which sounds like, ooh, is that all? But as I do it more, I go, no, actually that's way better, because then you're not having to think about 1,000 things at once. And when you're in real time, go, I need this to do this, I need that to do that. And then the pedal switches with each one. It's pretty awesome.
Kind of summarized, since we've walked through this, and you're still on a learning curve. You know, you're not used to presets and scenes and stomp, but you get it. You know, you're just starting to learn it.
Yeah.
But talk about it.
So the learning curve is not particularly steep if you know like what sound you're looking for. I mean, the sounds are like a given on this. Like, sound is not an issue. And I was worried about navigation. Like, I don't want to have to hit a button a bunch of times in order to get where I need to go. And I'm starting to realize, like, okay, I could use this as a stomp box, 4 pedals on and off, and then I can change those 4 pedals if I want to. That was initially how I thought of this. And now I'm going like, okay, well, I could do that, but then I'm also going to have like, each song could have its own set of 4 stomp boxes. So now each song has, on this one, I use my rotary a lot on this one, and then I use my delay a lot on this one. And you can have it set in that way. And so instead of per song, you do per theme. So like, this is kind of my rotary rig, and I use it on these 4 songs. And that, so like thinking about within the Reverent Few, that's how I'm starting to think about it in that way, where like, oh, this is the drippy reverb one that I use on 4 or 5 songs, and then this is the rotary one, this is the harmonic trem. So like thinking about it in groups of types of sounds rather than by song. And then I was like, well, and as you just keep working with it, you go, oh man, there's so much flexibility. If I have a road gig where I need something weird that I don't want to go buy the pedal for, I can have one just for that. Like I do some like just funky gigs where some song has something, you go, I need a flanger, and I don't have one.
Envelope filter.
Yeah, and instead of using like, I used to use my rotary pedal on slow mode for all my phaser stuff or any kind of like modulation things. I just kind of default to that because it's what I had and what I used. But now I go, well, I can choose, I really want a harmonic trem on this, and instead of like going, well, I only got room so much on my pedal board, I can actually do the thing that I actually want. And I think knowing what you want first is definitely the hardest part. Like knowing what you want to get out of it.
You have to think about what you want it to do, but then there's a way to get there. You have to
context is everything. And so once you know what your context is, I mean, this thing definitely has the flexibility to do it without being cumbersome and hard to navigate. Like, it seems pretty straightforward, and you go, oh, that's all that is, and that's exciting.
And you want one, you say?
I do want one.
I didn't pay him to say that. He really does want one.
No, I do want one.
So I just come back to how powerful this thing is. You know, I mean, this effects warehouse of what this thing is. I mean, we talked earlier about just the volume of stuff that's available to you to help you find and realize your vision for the sound that you want. You know, if you know how to put together sounds, all your tools are in that toolbox in terms of effects and things like that. They're all in there. There's not a lot I can dream up that won't do effects wise. You know, you may have to work at it for some of the stuff, like anything else. Nothing's all for free, but I love the fact for just your ordinary gig stuff that you guys are going to do when you go out to a club. You know, it's going to be simple. You know, it's like four stomp boxes on and off, you know, and then, like I said, you can organize them by songs and have different ones. If you do Eddie Van Halen and you need a phaser and a graphic EQ and a delay and a chamber reverb, that's 4 stomp boxes. You can do the Eddie Van Halen early album sound with that. Oh, you want to do the later one? Next preset, pitch, delay, wah-wah, and verb. So you've got the ability to set up the sounds for whatever you're covering in your cover band, in addition to just trying to make your own stuff. And I think that's really cool for people. And I'm sure the other thing is that people are going to make presets to do that, and they're going to give them away on Fractal's Exchange. You're going to be able to get stuff like that. There's some stuff in the factory presets that already do this. I think Andy Wood kind of did a Eddie Van Halen type, you know, Stripes preset, I think he called it. So I think that's the other part of this, is that you can learn from other people and pull in sounds and hear them and say, boy, I really love that. That works for me. Or I really, the other thing about it is, those of you who are watching that are not familiar with the fractal world, when you find a thing that you like, an effect, block, not just a preset, you can save a preset, but you can save a block, either the 1 channel or ABCD channels. You can save it, and then you can pull it up in another preset. It's just so flexible and so nice. I can't wait for you guys to get your hands on it. And
I can't wait till I get my hands on it.
It's a priority for me. It's a priority for me. Well, we wanted to give you guys a really fast preview of this. We know this is just hitting the market. You're going to have lots of questions about it. We can do more videos on this and do deeper dives. Let us know in the comments if you have questions or things like that. Of course, the Fractal Forum is a great resource for this. There'll be a lot of information there as it comes out. I'm sure a lot of other people are going to do their own version of demo videos for this, but I really wanted to bring Nick in as just a super gigging musician. This is what he does for a living, you know, and mono amp in a room and making it sound brilliant. And I wanted him to see that this is a tool that could be something that would be useful to him, so that you guys out there that are like Nick, that are working musicians, or maybe you're just doing gigs on the weekends or whatever, can realize what this can do for you, so you don't have to haul around the Texas-sized pedal board that I used to haul around. I used to have a trailer track. It's huge! But you can really kind of get this together and have a lot of fun with it, too, and feel inspired by the sounds. To me, at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. It's like, that's cool. That makes me want to play, or play in a certain way, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, having something that inspires you as a tool is a really good, useful investment. And like I said, for 2 or 3 boutique pedals, you just bought an effects warehouse full of literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pedals. So, any final thoughts, my Reverent Few amigo?
I want one. I can't wait. I'm going to get the expression pedal. I can't wait to use it and play it as much as I can.
And I can't wait to see him use it on stage. And that's it for us this time. We'll see y'all next episode. Thanks so much for watching. I know it was long, but we wanted to make sure you had a real taste of what this thing can do. All right? Bye, Fractal fans.
Action! Like you mean it.